Have you ever looked at a chart for a stock and thought it looked good, bought it, and then watched it do nothing? Well, the problem might have been that you didn't have a news catalyst. So today we're going to talk about what a news catalyst is, how to interpret a news catalyst, and how to use it to decide if you should trade a stock. Okay, welcome to my channel. My name is Raven. This is Trade with Raven. I am a new momentum trader. I just started trading last year. If you are a new trader, welcome to my channel. Okay, so today we are talking about news catalysts. What is it? A news catalyst is a specific piece of information or breaking news that gives the traders a reason to buy a good stock, okay? But it's something that is happening in the moment. Okay. And without a catalyst, the stock is just sitting there. It doesn't really have a reason to move. Think of it like you're lighting a fire at your camp. You go camping with your friends and you guys decide that you want to make hot dogs and hamburgers. You start to light the fire. You get the firewood, you get the kindling. Okay. Everything is in place, but the fire isn't going to start without a spark. Okay. So the news catalyst is a spark that lights the fire and drives the price action up. Okay, it's something that is very dependent on, it's very in the moment. Okay, some examples of news catalysts are FDA approval for biotech stocks. I love those. Earnings surprises. Maybe a stock had flat earnings, but then they have a quarter that has great earnings. That can drive the price up. Maybe a partnership at the company, a key partnership, that can drive the price up. Sector news, like for example, right now, as I'm filming this video, this energy sector is hot, defense sector is hot because of, what's happening in the world right now. Those types of news can drive stocks up, and it can drive up a particular stock. Like the news might be just for that stock. For example, partnership, like, oh, now this company's partnering with that company and this is a new opportunity. That's specific to that stock. And other news is like sector news, like when we're having unrest in the world, and that can drive up energy and defense stocks. Okay, so why is this one of the criteria for stock selection? Well, first of all, it is one of the criteria for stock selection. I use Warrior Trading's criteria for stock selection, and there are 5. And the first one is a float under 20 million. I did a video on float if you want to go check that out. One is the price should be between $2 and $20. The third one is that the relative volume should be more than 5 times the relative 50-day average. And fourth one is the price is gapped up more than 10% over the previous day's close. So those 4, I'm going to be doing videos about all of them, the ones I haven't done yet. And the 5th one is news. Okay, a news catalyst. And that is one of the 5 pillars of stock selection according to Warrior Trading, and it's one of my criteria for stock selection. So before I even trade a stock, this is like the first step. I screen it out by seeing if it meets these criteria. Okay. Now, there are plenty of stocks that I see out there. They're meeting the other 4 criteria, but they don't have breaking news. And there are times where a price goes up for an unknown reason, okay? And then that becomes the news. Like, oh, this stock is driving up, and that sort of becomes the breaking news. Like, this stock is driving up. However, it's good to have a real concrete reason, and we'll talk about why. Okay, so if the stock is moving up, but it doesn't have news, it's very random, okay? You don't know why is the stock going up, and it's hard to gauge the market sentiment about the stock, and it's hard to gauge the strength of the momentum of the stock. If it has news, it has this fuel. It has a good reason for the price to go up, okay? And the other thing is, if there's breaking news, all the other investors in the market are seeing the same news. Okay, so it's like we're not competing. Everyone seeing the news is helping each other, because the more people that jump in to buy the stock, the stronger the momentum of the stock. So institutional investors, retail traders, and the algorithms are all reacting to the catalyst at the same time. Okay, and not all the time, but a lot of the time, you'll see news come out on the half hour and at the top of the hour. So, okay, so how do you know the difference between good news and bad news, right? Real news, the signal, and the noise, okay? The signal and the noise. So real catalysts, I think this is a little bit subjective to some degree, and I would love to hear your opinion on this in the comments, but I do think that this is a little bit subjective. And this is the one stock selection criteria that is more based on fundamental analysis. So, when I was getting my MBA and in some of my professional career, I had to deal with, financial statements and annual reports and things like that. So some of the news that comes out is based in fundamental analysis, which is very different than technical analysis. Technical analysis is what we use to trade stocks as day traders, but fundamental analysis would be something that you would dig into more for longer term investing. You'd be looking at the company's financials and you'd be running ratios and all of that. Sometimes the news catalyst is actually based in some fundamental analysis, okay? And I do believe that that's a little bit more reliable news. For example, earnings information or revenue information. But other catalysts, like I love FDA approvals or trial results, because it's a concrete thing that's actually happened. It's an event that's happened, and that event is being reported as news. So I feel like I trust that more. A weak catalyst or no catalyst, obviously, is a weak choice. A weak catalyst might be like social media hype, okay? Reddit, Yahoo, whatever, or old news. Okay, so this is something that time is of the essence. If the news is old, if it's from, there's a possibility that if the news came out like at the end of the trading day one day, then the next day when the stock opens at the market open, you might see the stock drive up. But if it's news that's like 2 days old, 3 days old, that's not driving the price action generally, okay? Old news that's being recycled. So this has happened to me where I think it's breaking news, and then when I look and check a little bit deeper, it's actually just news that's being reprinted from the day before. So it's not really breaking news. So you have to kind of watch out for that, okay? And what you want to do to sort of test it out is you want to look at the news and say, is this explaining why the stock is moving up right now? Like right this moment, okay? Is it reporting something that's happening now, or is it reporting something that happened a week ago or a month ago? All right. If you're guessing about the news, then it's probably not great news. Okay, so where do you find news catalysts? I use Warrior Trading stock scanners, and they actually put the news, a little icon next to the stock ticker, so that you can see when breaking news comes out, which is extremely helpful. However, I will show you on Thinkorswim how you can look at breaking news. Okay, so I use Thinkorswim. It's a commission-free broker. I'm a new trader. Can't really spend money on commissions right now. So this is my layout that I use every single day. Over here, I have my watch list. In the middle, I have my level 2, my time and sales, which I will go over in another video. My active trader ladder, where I make my trades, things like that. I have all my little buttons here. This is where I buy in the ask, sell in the bid, sell in the ask, cancel all. Down here, I keep the news open. So even though I do have the news on the scanner, I like to sort of have the news up here as well. Over here are my charts, daily, 5 minute, 1 minute. Okay. But I like to have the news here as well because sometimes the news pops up here first. Sometimes it pops up on my scanner first. And I love when it pops up in both places because then I feel like, oh, okay, this is a really good indicator that this news is happening right now and it's breaking. So let's take a look. This is a stock that I traded last week, SKYQ. Okay, you can see, what's today? Today's the 5th. So this is Thursday when it came out. You can see, let's look at the most recent news that came up. All right. So this is the most recent news, and it says Sky Quarry's stock soared up by 101.58%, closing at $5.10. It reached an intraday high of blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this is just explaining that the stock went up. The second line, Sky Quarry's share rose after the company said it held talks with Nevada crude producers to boost local supply for its Foreland refinery. So one of the hot sectors last week was energy stocks. So, this is, of course, the geopolitical rest that we're experiencing with the war in Iran and all that, that's driving energy stocks in that sector. So this is very much like on the theme of the moment. And so that I feel like makes it a much stronger catalyst. Okay. So let's look at another one. This is another stock that I traded last week. Let's see, COCP. Let's look at that. Okay. And again, I think I traded this one Thursday as well. So you can see it has general news about the stock market, and then embedded in that, you'll see news about individual stocks. So here it says COCP got a boost, surging 43% to $1.46 after the company announced that it had received fast track designation from the FDA for its CDI 988, the first oral antiviral candidate being developed for treatment and prophylaxis of norovirus infection. I love this news. Now, I did trade this stock this week, and I'd have to look to see exactly how it went, but this news gets me excited because it's a specific news about a specific actual thing. And if the stock met my other 4 criteria of stock selection, then I would start looking at indicators. All right, let's look at another one. Let's see. I don't, okay, that one didn't have news. Let's try to look at one that had news last week. Let me look at what else I traded last week. CYCN, let's look at that one. CYCN, whoops. CYCN. Okay, so let's look at CYCN and see what news it had. I think I traded it on, let me see what day I traded it on. I traded it on the 1st. So let's look at the news on the 1st. Actually, let's look at the earlier news when the news first came out, probably closer to market open. So here it says there's a bunch of news about a merger agreement. Oh, okay. All it says here is, let me see. Sometimes it's just like a headline and there's not much behind it. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is about a merger, and that is stock specific news. So the last one was more like sector news, right? The stock was going up because it was related to that sector. This one, it looks like it's more about specific to the stock. It's a merger. Okay, so you can kind of see here that you want to look at the stock and you want to evaluate what's going on. All right. Now, I've already mentioned that this is one of the 5 stock selection criteria that I use. And in a hot market, I'm going to be looser with these criteria, but in a colder market, I am going to be very strict with myself on these catalysts, okay? And I want to make sure that all 5 of my criteria are green in my mind. Like green means go, red means stop, right? Just like with the candlestick charts. So I want to look at each of the 5 criteria, and if they're not all pointing in the same direction, I'm not going to trade that stock. Okay, so beginner mistakes, which I made many of. Oh, okay. Trading with no catalyst and wondering why the stock isn't going anywhere. It's like, okay. Treating social media hype as a catalyst. I actually haven't done this. I mostly use the news in the scanner or the news in Thinkorswim. However, if I see a stock going up and there's no news, I do, Google the ticker, basically. Like what's going on with, ABCD stock, and find out if there's something going on that hasn't popped up on my other news sources yet. Another beginner mistake is ignoring the quality of the catalyst. Not all news is equal, and you need to evaluate each piece of news individually. Like an FDA approval is obviously stronger than like some vague news about a partnership that might be happening, or they signed an agreement for a thing that might happen. You have to look at the quality of the news. All right, so I've already given you some real examples. I'll just go over a quick recap, okay? A quick recap about news catalysts. So, the main thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that there is a news catalyst, okay? That's the first step. The second step is you want to evaluate the quality of the news catalyst. And this is, like I said, to some degree, subjective, all right? And the third thing is you want to look at the timeliness of the news catalyst. Is it something that is happening now, or is it something that happened previously, like a week ago? That's not breaking news. That's probably not a catalyst, okay? But is it happening right now? Is this the first time the company has announced this? Then that could be good news. Okay. All right. Thank you for joining me today for my segment on catalyst for stock selection. If this helped, please subscribe to my channel. I'm also over on Substack posting content Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays about whatever my weekly goal is. So each week I'm picking a goal to work on, and I'm posting over there about my goal and how I'm doing on that. So trade smart, and I'll see you next time.